Today we are going to begin Jean-Paul Sartre's essay Why Write, which is a chapter in his book What is Literature, that was published in 1948 in the original French edition. The first chapter of the book, What is Writing, is important to understand Sartre's conception of writing and consequently of literature. So I will suppose that you will read the first chapter on your own, and we can only do the second chapter in detail. So this book it tells us about Sartre's idea of committed literature. Now, as you know that Sartre was an existentialist philosopher, novelist, dramatist, and a great thinker of the 20th century. The philosophy of existentialism was derived principally from Husserl, the Austrian philosopher, Edmund Husserl, whose philosophy about phenomenology was of great influence. Okay, so phenomenology is a philosophy which talks about the perception of the world by our consciousness as phenomena. So it does not deal with the direct question whether the world we perceive is real or not. That is the age-old controversy between nominalism and realism, the two philosophical traditions in the West. The realist tradition comes down from Plato, who thought that the ideas are real, the abstract conceptions are real, and the nominalist tradition was the opposite, which thought that we give names to real things, so the object or the world that we perceive is real, and we call them with some names. Now, these two philosophical positions could not be reconciled, and the later manifestation of this divergence or difference was in the contest between materialist philosophy and idealist philosophy. That is, idealist philosophy believes in the priority of consciousness. That is, consciousness determines matter, and materialist philosophy believes in the priority of matter and suggests that matter determines consciousness. So as you know that the greatest 19th century German idealist philosopher was Hegel, who suggested that consciousness determines matter, and Marx had famously written that Hegel's dialectic stood on its head. So Marx's intervention, materialist intervention, made it stand on its feet. So how he did that? By reversing the position, by saying that matter determines consciousness. Now, it is very nice to think of this great achievement, but actually things are not so simple, because even Marxism believes in consciousness. So if we look threadbare into Marxism, it is not 100% materialist philosophy. It is materialist, but it also believes in consciousness. So there is some contradiction, and what Marx did not actually solve the problem. So Edmund Husserl kind of bypassed this problem by suggesting his philosophy of phenomenology, where he did not take up the issue at all whether the world is real, the world of objects is real or not, or whether the ideas are real and the objects are reflections or not. He totally bypassed this debate, and this debate, was entrenched upon our mind by the 17th century philosopher Descartes, René Descartes, who could not solve this problem, therefore believed in this duality of consciousness and matter. So from Descartes onwards, we are deeply embedded, or we are deeply entrenched, or on our mind this duality is deeply entrenched, that there is no bridge between consciousness and matter, and so Husserl suggested that it is not the issue. The issue is that we perceive the world or the phenomena of the world by our consciousness. So instead of a consciousness of ontology proper, that is of existence, what exists, does the world exist or do only ideas exist, that is ontology, philosophy of existence. Instead of that, or rather along with that, he spoke about phenomena as perceived by consciousness. And therefore, as you can see, that it veers into a philosophy of perception, which is the position of Merleau-Ponty, another modern philosopher. And existentialism believes in or derives from this philosophy of phenomenology of Husserl, the philosophy of Heidegger, Martin Heidegger, another great 20th century philosopher, who spoke about Dasein. Dasein is a German word, or two words combined. Da means there, Sein means being. So being there or existing. So Heidegger spoke about being with capital B and being with small b. So being as a philosophical concept of ontology, and being that is our everyday experience of being, which is nothing else than a sequence of becoming. That is, everyday becoming leads to our being. So being with small b and being with capital B, and the concept of Dasein, which is another concept about existence. So Sartre's existentialism derives from Heidegger's concept of Dasein, Husserl's concept of phenomenology, and along with that, we know that Sartre was also attracted by communism, and had, we may say, a kind of love and hate relationship with communism of his time, and the French Communist Party was very powerful at that time. However, he never became a member of the party because he believed in freedom. Now, freedom is another concept in his philosophy, existentialist philosophy, and we have to understand what is freedom, and the basic idea is that man finds himself in situatedness. He is situated in this world. So Sartre has volumes of book called Situations. So he finds himself situated in this world, and Sartre talks about being for itself, being in itself, and being for others. Three conceptual possibilities. So these are the ontological possibilities that a person finds himself situated in. So what is being for itself? That is, uh, every person wants to appropriate the world in himself or herself, and that is something that he wants but he cannot attain, because whereas for himself he is the subject, for others he becomes evidently the object. And no person wants to be an object, because every person wants to completely absorb the world to himself or herself and wants to remain the sole subject. So this idea of becoming or being complete in oneself, that status is the being in itself. But this absolute status, being in itself, is hardly ever possible. So we always mostly reach the status of being for itself, where we remain subject in our eyes, but for others we remain object. Now, as long as we remain subject in our eyes, others become objects of our attention. So there is a gap that we feel between our being and that of others. And this gap provides us with freedom, according to Sartre's philosophy. I am repeating, as subjects we are being for itself, and we feel that others are objects of our attention. So there is a gap between our being for itself and others, and this gap is freedom, because it gives me the freedom as to form my attitude towards others, because others are objects to me. So how do I deal with them? Do I be compassionate with them? Do I want to rule them? Do I want to oppress them? Do I feel fellow feeling with them? So what is going to be my attitude to them? I can freely choose that attitude. So that is freedom, according to Sartre. Okay, so I have explained being in itself, which is the completely autonomous status of existence, where the whole world is absorbed into me and I am self-sufficient like God. But that does not happen, so it is an abstract concept. So mostly we are being for itself, that is, we are subjects in our own eyes, and others become objects to us. The third status, being for others. So when there is a gap and this freedom, then we want to take a shortcut. That is, we find it very difficult to move towards being in itself. So we find it very difficult to become like God, to absorb the whole world into ourselves ontologically. And therefore we want to take a shortcut. How? We want to be hero to others. And that is being for others. That is, we become leaders, we become cricket players, we become celebrities, we become heroes in others' eyes. That is the shortcut of being popular in this world, or forcing willy-nilly the world to acknowledge us as subjects. So Sartre theorizes that as being for others. Now, this is the situation, ontological situation, in which every writer finds himself. So writer has the freedom to choose his attitude vis-a-vis others, which are objects to him. Now, of course, in his other works, Sartre further explains that how freedom becomes truly freedom cannot be attained unless there is freedom for everybody. And therefore what we should do in order to attain full freedom, we should try to free everybody, or we should join the battle. Now Sartre says that writing is always a battle. The moment you decide to write, you are joining this battle for freedom. You are exercising your own freedom, that is, you are intervening in this ontological situation where you want to absorb the world into yourself. But as long as other people or others are objectified, or they remain like objects, or they remain like slaves, as long as they cannot assert their subjecthood, their freedom, you cannot attain full freedom either, because you want to absorb the whole world into yourself. Only that can give you full freedom. So if a part of the world remains slaves or remains oppressed, then you can never have full freedom. Therefore, a writer finds himself compelled to fight for freedom of everybody, according to Sartre. So if a writer decides to write, the moment he decides to write, he is committed, he is engaged in writing for freedom of others. Okay. So far this sounds kind of convincing, but there are certain areas of doubts which naturally Marxists picked and criticized Sartre. Communists, of course, did not like him because, as you know, communism mostly means regimentation. So once you become member of the Communist Party, then what do you say? You say nothing. You say what the party says. All right. So Sartre was, Sartre spoke about this limitation of the communist ideas. He was a great, fan, we may say, of communistic ideas. But he found these difficulties because, as you know, that he witnessed the Stalinist regime. At that time, the Janovian socialist realism was the predominant critical attitude in Soviet Russia, and in the communist world in general, wherever people looked, people found that human freedom was being curbed. And so, for whatever reason, communism was not working well in this area. So Sartre, because Sartre believes in freedom, so he could not become a member of the Communist Party. But initially in his career, he was radical in his writings, but liberal in his politics. But as he grew old, he became more and more radical in his politics. That is, he became very close to communist ideas, to the Communist Party, members of the Communist Party, even Russian, Soviet communism. He became close politically, but in his writing he became more and more conservative. All right. So there is this kind of dialectic that we find in Sartre's career. Okay. Now, about the points of criticism that one can pick in his theory about writing is that when Sartre writes this book, What is Literature, he basically writes about prose literature. When he writes about commitment to writing, or littérature engagée, the French phrase littérature engagée or engaged literature, that is committed writing. So when he spoke of committed writing or committed literature, he actually spoke about prose literature. Now, he writes in the first chapter what he is writing, which you will of course read. He writes that poets refuse to use words. Just because poets and prose writers both use words, that does not mean that they use language in the same way. Poets refuse to use language, that is, they are against utilitarianism of language. Whereas prose writers use words for communication. Prose writers want to communicate meanings through words and uses this language for communication. But writers of poetry, they use words as objects or things, and therefore they use word objects to create a kind of art with the assonances, with the music, with the pattern, whatever. They create beauty, they create art, but they do not use language. They do not use words because they do not want to communicate with words. On the other hand, prose use words for communication, and therefore the literature of engagement, that is a literature of communication where writers want to communicate with people. Now, what is Sartre's attitude towards surrealism, experimental writing, in all of which French poets and writers excelled at that time? We know that they were iconoclastic poets and writers and dramatists, the Dadaists, the Surrealists, Jean Cocteau and others. What was Sartre's attitude to them? Sartre said that however belligerent the surrealists or these writers, these poets might appear, they still serve the bourgeois cause. Because the more they make experiments in art, whether poetry or in painting, they go farther away from the people. Art and poetry becomes less and less understood by the people. They move farther away from the proletariat. Now, in his own writings, drama, novels, Sartre had some proletarian characters, but they also look more like middle class characters. So even Sartre himself would not properly represent working class or proletariat characters in his own literature. Perhaps because it is difficult for people from other classes write convincingly about working classes. I do not know. I do not want to enter into this thorny area because there are many who will immediately jump up and say the opposite. Just recently I read something where it was written that it is a great, I read a review where the writer said that it is more interesting when a person writes from the point of view of somebody of another class or even another gender. So this was a discussion about post-colonial literature and particularly French literature written in India and so on, or English literature written in India from a post-colonial point of view. And Malayalam writer, male writer, he writes his novel from the point of view of a girl. And then the interlocutors, they refer to another female a South Indian writer who probably Tamil writer who wrote a novel from the perspective of a boy, and they were praising these writers for this. Now this goes directly opposite. This is directly opposed to what I was saying, that it is difficult for people to look from the vantage point of another class or another gender and so on. So I do not know, but that is that Sartre could not create very convincing prototypical characters. Right. More or less, this is the way Sartre talks about literature, about writing, and the importance or the priority of prose over poetry in his criticism. And then I was telling you about Sartre's conception of a writer. That is, a writer finds himself situated, like every person according to existential philosophy finds himself or herself situated in a particular situation. Now don't blame me for tautology. So situated in a situation is tautological, but I do not know otherwise how to say it. According to Sartre, every person is situated in a situation, and every person feels compelled to exercise his freedom. So as I told you, that existentialist idea of freedom is that of choice. So every person must make a choice, and therefore, by making a particular choice, by exercising his freedom, a person intervenes in this world. Now, what is the importance of intervening? Now, it is important for himself as well as it is important for others, because people live in a society. What about writers? They also live in a society. Are they social beings? We assume so. Yes. So, if they are social beings, then what do? They write. And what do? We read. Why do we read? Because they write for us. Now these appear to be very simple, but it is not simple. Can you imagine somebody writing not for any reader? Possibly not. If you find a person living alone in Mars and writing, that person is writing only for himself or herself. But it is not Mars. Here on Earth, there are so many other people, unfortunately or fortunately, that whatever we write, that is either accepted or rejected, and we are ready for that. So we look for judgment from others. So writing is our intervention, where we want to do something, we act, we express our ideas about our existence, about our situatedness, we try hard to express the idea of freedom and to remove oppression from this world through our intervention by writing. But the writer alone cannot do it. He needs a reader. Because without the reader, there is no meaning to any writing. Now, I don't know, did I teach you about that writer, that the reader gives writing its meaning according to Barthes, according to Mallarmé. So, no writer writes something which is meaningful by itself. Meaning is possible only while somebody reads it. So this is similar to Husserl's phenomenology, that the world does not exist until there is consciousness. When there is consciousness of people, human beings, then it is through their consciousness that the world comes to exist. What would happen if the people were obliterated by some, cosmic catastrophe? All people on earth are obliterated. Then there is no consciousness here on earth. So let us assume that for 50,000 years there is no human being. So for 50,000 years the world goes back into the black darkness where it is not perceived by anybody. So in other words, it is perhaps there, but nobody knows it. The knower is gone. Now after 50,000 years, let us assume once again life resumes on earth, and once again it is populated by human beings, and then in their consciousness the world comes back. Right, so this is the phenomenological way of looking at our interpretation of the world, that the world as phenomena exists only because there is consciousness. Similarly, writing does not exist unless somebody reads it. Somebody reads it, likes it, dislikes it. That is why you make so many entries on Facebook, because you want people to like or dislike. So, if you write something on Facebook and nobody likes it or dislikes it, then what do you feel? It is wasted. Okay, so this is how literature works according to Sartre. So Sartre says that literature or writing is a collaboration between writer and reader. And what is the role of the reader? The reader reveals the writing. So there is some message in the writing, but well, so prose literature contains a message, and the message is revealed by the reader. Therefore, the writer, Sartre says, is too close to the work that he writes, and therefore he can never interpret it, because he knows the work, from such a close proximity that he does not have the distance from which to judge it. So he is unable to interpret his own work, and the interpretation must be provided by the reader. And that is more or less true about most art. Okay. When all is said and done, the message is a soul which is made object, according to Sartre. The writer puts his soul in the writing, but once he puts it in writing, then it becomes an object to be read and interpreted.